My name is Josh Miller. I own Riverstone Kennels, and I've been training gun dogs for more than 16 years. I have field trialed, I've hunt tested, but at the end of the day, I'm a duck hunter. You might find that the duck in our Duck Dogs podcast is spelled uniquely. The UK stands for my British Labs. I love my British Labs. I love what they offer me, both as a part of my family and the high motor in the field. As you're going to find, I have some pretty special dogs. Follow along in our podcast series here as we talk about both in the field hunting and in the field training situations that will hopefully help you progress with your dog at home.
Thank you to Eukanuba. You know, I've fed Eukanuba for years now. I've seen the results. I've witnessed the impact it has had on my dogs. We always talk about as people that you are what you eat. Well, it's no different than that for our four-legged, hunting partners. So if you're looking for a very high-quality food to put your hunting partner on, I would highly recommend Eukanuba. I personally feed Premium Performance Sport 3020, but they have a number of blends out there that fits, basically any dog that you're looking for. So go check out Eukanuba, and thank you to Eukanuba for bringing you this podcast. Also, thank you to Gun Dog Supply. I've said it before, will say it again because I believe it is so true. There are just very few one-stop shops that are out there for those of us that are hunting dog, gun dog, retriever enthusiasts. GunDogSupply.com is that spot. So whether you're looking for hunting gear, training tools, especially as we're in the training season, go check them out. They have about anything and everything that you would need. www.gundogsupply.com. All right, so this was a fun week. I think I talked about last week's episode that I was having the head of Sitka and his wife out for a turkey hunt here on the kennel property, on my property here at the kennel, and it was so much fun. We had terrible weather. It was miserable. We had rain like crazy. We really had to grind it out. We had a number of close encounters that didn't work out, and then, as these things often do, on the last day, we had it all work, and it was so fun. Here's what was so fun for me is that Caitlin had never turkey hunted before. And, of course, in my head, I'd always love for, that first hour for them to pitch down, do the whole deal, happens right away. We all, throw a party, and that's how someone gets into this, right? In my head, I always think of it as this has to be quick and fun, otherwise you're going to lose interest. We grinded out those miserable days. Again, close encounters. We got really close a couple times. And the last day, the look on her face after she killed that bird it absolutely made my week. I was getting so frustrated going, I wanted to get her bird so badly that I was putting more pressure on myself and actually almost not enjoying it at the end because I was stressed out about it. And the appreciation that she had for not only the bird, but the appreciation for having gone through those last few days of miserable weather, of hiking, miles and miles. And it was really, really fun. And we now have a brand new turkey hunter, in our midst. And so it's just always fun to watch new people, get into the sport, love it. I mean, genuinely love it. And, we're, breasting out that bird, and we were talking about how cool it is to know where your food is coming from. And it's just a neat thing to kind of, watch it all connect. She said something as we were talking about that, and she's like, I get it. I really get it. And she didn't grow up a hunter. Obviously she is now, being, in the family that she is, and the industry that she's inevitably, part of. But it's just so cool. I really, really love that. And I would also challenge anybody else out there. I mean, it's something that I really try to do as much as I can, but let's bring new people into this, whether it's, turkey hunting, deer hunting. Of course, I'm passionate about waterfowl. Let's more people, like we really need to get more people involved in this thing. And I know so many of you agree. I know there's different ways that we all believe we should do that, but however you can get it done, get it done. But I also don't, it's hard to replicate that feeling, for me, being in my shoes on that, because, I don't know, I was super proud. So fun week. The negative that came out of this week is my allergies are just killing me. At one point, we had 3 Galbers we were making a move on, and I'm like literally crying because I'm trying to hold back my coughing. My eyes are like swelling up, and I don't know about anybody. Like, I don't know if you know somebody or you're in this boat. I never had allergies in my life until like 5 years ago. And now they like progressively get worse every year, and it's awful. And I don't know, like, I take Claritin, I cannot kick this thing. So that's why you'll have a little bit of a scratchiness to my voice here this week, but just that time again. It's like the second time this year that this happened. So fun times, especially when what you do for a living is outside every day. Fun. So what I want to talk about today, I'm going to start off today anyways, with talking about something that came out of last week's episode. And what I mean by that is that there was a fair amount of feedback that was all very similar in what the feedback was about. And it's so interesting to me because what this came from was like one sentence of last week. Like, it was not what this whole thing was revolved around. So if you haven't listened to last week's episode, go do it. This will make a little more sense. But what I'm going to talk about is, again, the feedback is about trainers. And when I say trainers, I mean like professional trainers and just kind of, experiences, because if you rewind your mind to last week, I talked about, and it was just simply giving some context behind, again, just, backwards, reliving this. So I talked about a property I got to train on, but how I got, back into that property was through a guy who was a client who's quickly become a friend. He's a great dude, named Brady. And Brady, the reason that he came to me for training was because he took his dog to a different trainer. I'm going to say, quote unquote, air quote, trainer. And he took his dog there, and he said that in the first hour of the dog being there, the guy shot over him with a 12 gauge, a puppy, shot over him with a 12 gauge to see if he was gun shy. Which is like a completely mind-boggling thing to me. But it happens more times than not. Like, when we hear about gun shyness, that's what we hear about. I mean, it's crazy. Anyway, the feedback that we overwhelmingly got last week, or from last week, was about trainers and about these bad experiences, and about my dog had a similar thing, or my dog had a really bad experience, or this was super frustrating with the guy that I went to. So I want to talk about this a little bit, because first off, what I'm going to say is there are a lot of great trainers out there. There are a lot of great people out there that are doing this. Sometimes you have to weed through it to find them, but they are out there. And there are some really talented people that do this, and a lot of people I have a lot of respect for. But where this becomes frustrating for me, and I'm sure frustrating for the people I just mentioned, as far as the people that I think are really good at this, is that this is an industry, or a profession rather, I should say, that you do not need a degree. You do not need a certification or certificate, program, course, pass. There's nothing that you need to do this. You could literally wake up tomorrow and say, you know what, I think I'm going to start training dogs. And I really think that social media is probably one of the worst things that has happened for the professional dog trainer industry. Because that person that rolls out of bed decides they're going to do this, they, get a, great Facebook, Instagram account going, have somebody take some, wicked cool pictures, maybe a sweet video, and all of a sudden they're legit. Why? I think why this frustrates me so much is because I have 8 dogs in the kennel right now that came from these situations. They were at these other trainers. Quite frankly, like I just don't think work was done with half of them. The other half, I just don't think they knew what to do or how to properly do it. And so then they come to me to fix, and we'll fix them. But I need to look into those owners' eyes as they tell me this story. And I watch how hurt they are. And I watch how they don't even fully trust me right now because they just got burned by a different person in my shoes. And I get it. That's why that frustrates me. I just don't think, I don't see how in good conscience you could take someone's hard-earned money and say that you can do this job when you can't. Or I shouldn't say you can't. Maybe you just don't have all the tools or the knowledge or experience that you should have to go into this. You know, it's like, good example. I change the oil, rotate my tires, change my wiper blades on my truck. Doesn't make me a mechanic. Doesn't mean I'm going to go start a mechanic shop. Now, I haven't done this with this current truck, but when I was, 18 to like mid-20s, and I couldn't afford anything, I worked on my truck. I knew inside and out what to do with that truck. Doesn't mean I was going to go again start a mechanic shop. The reason I say this is because I feel like a lot of trainers that, again, just kind of pop up out of nowhere, thin air, is they did it with their dog, or maybe their 2 dogs. It is different when you train for the public. It is different when you're training other people's breeds, other people's breeding lines, other people's, quite frankly, mistakes that have happened. Like, it is no longer that you have all the time in the world. You can take them from start to finish. You can take your time. You can go through things at your pace. It is different. Like for me, as I think some of you guys have known from my background, and I will, because this was another huge one from last week, and this was actually from the Riverstone Instagram account. I did a story on that property. A bunch of feedback was that you want to hear my startup story. I will tell that at some point. Just don't know when. But I think that's the difference of like what I did is I felt like I did things, again, what I consider the right way, which is I went and I trained with many different guys. I want to know why you do this way. I want to know why the next guy does it that way. I want to know why the next guy does it the other way, because they're all going to benefit me at some point. These dogs are not cookie cutters. You can't just lop off edges if they just don't fit your exact way of doing it. You have to be flexible. How do you be flexible? You have multiple ways of doing it. That's my issue with books. That's my issues with DVDs. That's my issues with any 1, 2, 3 formula. There is no 1, 2, 3 formula. It's 1, 2, 2A, 4, 9, 8. Like it's like every dog is different. How you have to communicate with them. You don't do that. You don't learn how to do that with working with 1 or 2 or even 5 dogs. It's hundreds. You learn through the experiences. That's why that frustrates me so much. I hate hearing the bad experiences, because I just think it puts such a damper and it puts such a bad taste in people's mouth for those of us that are trying to do this the right way. So I apologize for anybody that has had those situations come up, but I promise you there are great people out there. You just got to find them. They're great trainers, great people. You just got to find them. One thing that I tell a lot of people when I'm talking about training is that, and this is as I kind of talk about the mental approach to things. So if you listen to Dave, who you guys have learned now that Dave has worked for me for 9 years. Talked to Chloe, who's an employee of mine. Talked to Whitney, who's my wife. There's a number of things that I talk about a lot, and one of them is, again, going back to my athletic days, is think about what you do when no one is watching. That's what defines your character. That's what defines your work ethic in this business. No one is watching you train a lot of the time. You know how easy it would be to sleep in? You know how easy it would be to watch movies during the day? Go into town, hang out, go run over to Cabela's, go do whatever. This is one of those businesses that you have to have the moral work ethic that you are doing when no one is watching, and you're doing it at the best of your ability, and you're doing it in a morally and ethical way. When we were doing a ton of competing, we were trialing, we were going, like Dave and I were going 100 different ways, competing all the time, but we were being very successful with it. There was something I would always say, which is hustle in the dark so you can shine in the light. Hustle in the dark so you can shine in the light. Like, to me, that's what we were doing. We were working our tails off, like crazy long hours, super early in the morning. Like, we were grinding. Nobody saw that. We knew it. Nobody else saw it. All that everybody else saw is at the end of the day, we're the ones standing there with a trophy or blue ribbon or whatever it is. And it was like, oh, great, you've got great dogs, or, oh, good, you're good at doing this, whatever it was, right? It was all great. We didn't ever be like, hey, like this is what it took. We knew it. But that's what I'm saying, is that this industry, this business, is just not one that you can take lightly. These dogs, they are kids. They can't talk to you. You're the teacher. It takes a lot of time to get them through some of this stuff. And I know I'm kind of rambling here, but it's just one of those things. It's so frustrating to me. This business can be very, very frustrating from that manner. But again, encouragement. There are great, great trainers out there. You just got to find them. I do want to, because I had asked for a bunch of topics or questions that people wanted to hear, and I've lacked the last couple of weeks in getting to them, so I want to go back to a few of them now. And I have 3 of them picked out that I'm going to run through here quick. Mainly because they were just the 3 in a row when I pulled it up. So, Nicholas Draper says, what should the owner do with a Riverstone puppy between pickup and drop off for you to train? So I think this is a neat one, because obviously you got a Riverstone puppy, but it doesn't just apply to Riverstone puppy. Let's just say for puppies. Of course, I'd prefer you to get a Riverstone puppy, because then you're going to have an awesome puppy. I know you're going to have an awesome puppy. But let's just say puppies in general. When you pick that puppy up, I totally agree with the thought out there that your training starts day one. For sure it does, because that puppy is learning, right? That puppy is trying to figure out what life is all about. Who are these new people? What is this new living area? How do I fit into this? Right? So, of course, there's going to be teaching and training from day one. Here's the one, because this could be an hour-long thing just talking about this. So I'm going to keep it more brief. I'm going to talk about the one thing that people don't think about, especially those of us that are gun dog owners. We all get anxious. We all want a finished product, and we all want to get to casting and blinds and everything else, and we're so excited, and we get wrapped up emotionally into the excitement of having the new puppy. Well, I think the biggest mistake rather than most of us make is we don't allow that puppy to be a puppy. We don't give him that freedom, that playtime, that everything, that puppy needs as a young dog, that will actually help us later on. I want a bold puppy. I want a bold dog. I can do more with a bold dog. I can push a dog, that is bold more. If I have a dog that is completely dependent on me, that is ultra submissive because I have beat obedience into this dog from day one, I mean, we're just not going to have as much to work with. We're probably not going to have as good of a relationship either, right? Do your treat training, do your potty training, do your basic obedience, but let that puppy be a puppy. That's the biggest mistake that I think so many of us make. Let them run, let them explore, let them get away from you, of course in a safe setting, right? But let them do that. Let them be a puppy. I can tell you a lot of times we take puppies in for bird and gun introduction at 5-6 months old. I can tell on the first day that we bring them out, if this puppy has had a chance to just be confident in itself and build up that boldness, and I mean, you just see it. If that puppy has been told every day of his life or her life that life revolves in a 2-foot radius around us and you better not leave because otherwise there's a correction and you have to be at heel nonstop, and that puppy doesn't want to go. Right? I want a puppy to go. Then we start harnessing, we start reining them back in. Let them be a puppy. That's probably the biggest mistake that we see. So, but Nicholas, that was a great question. I love it. So, next one I think is really interesting too. So this is from Nick Glass. Nick says, how about discussing getting UK style trials started here in the US? I think this is really interesting because, I think that there's some great things about the UK trials that I love, right? I love that they're on live hunts. I love that it's on live game. I love that it's not the same setup thing every time. Here's the problem with it, though, as far as adopting it here in the US. We don't hunt the same. We don't hunt in the same manner that they do overseas. The reason that their trials are like that overseas is because that is the way that they hunt. We don't hunt like that here. At least no way that I know. And vice versa. Right? A lot of us are, going and, setting up, 10 dozen honkers and, 6 dozen mallards and setting up the big blinds and doing that whole thing. I know a lot of my friends overseas, when they see my videos, they're like, oh, that's so cool. So where do those birds, come from, and how, they're asking questions. Not that it doesn't happen, right? But they hunt very differently, than we do. Neither one right or wrong. But aren't these competitions, aren't they supposed to be replications of what it is that we're trying to accomplish in the field? At least that's what they started as. So I think it would be super interesting. I think it'd be interesting to try to find a way to maybe tweak them a little bit and find a way to make it work. I think it'd be really, really interesting. I think it'd be very difficult. But I love the live game aspect. I just think it gets us back to the natural side of things. I want to see a natural nose. I want to see a natural hunt. I want to see all that stuff. But I also want to see a dog that handles. I want to see a dog that's completely under control. I want to see, it's that's a tough one. I wish I would have had more time to look at this. I literally pulled these up right before I started this, thinking, geez, I haven't done questions in a while. Let me think more on that, because I do think that's an interesting one. But I do think just the surface it is much different, and for that reason. So kind of interesting. Okay, so then we have Jake Miller, which said, what is too much? When do you know when to stop working with the dog? This kind of goes back to that a dog is a book. You just have to read them. They're always telling you. They're always telling you what they're feeling. They're always telling you what they're thinking. You just have to step back and read it. So every dog is going to be different with this. But let me tell you a funny little story that just popped into my head as we're talking about this. And I'm going to tell you this story with the thought of you need to just look at your individual dog and do what is right. Now, this is an extreme example, but I think it's kind of funny. So this was probably about a year ago or so. We had a breeder. I'm going to do my air quotes again. Breeder. We had a breeder that was sending a dog in, and I'd been very honest with this individual, because when he first called me to talk about, this dog, he said, that he needs his dog trained really well because this is going to be a stud dog for him. This dog is 4 months old at this point, because, we had talked a couple months before the dog coming in. And so I said, why, my opinion, we're a long ways away from knowing if this guy is the caliber that you want, the quality you want. Nope. He's going to be a stud dog, so he has to be trained well. Okay, well, I was still going to take the dog in for training. So, literally the day before the dog is supposed to come in, he calls me, and he's like, well, I just have a couple more questions about the training. And now at this point, I'm already going to tell him that he should do something different, because we're crazy busy. We literally have a waiting list right now that is longer than the number of kennel runs that we have. So we have a full kennel, plus could fill another almost kennel and a half right now with our waiting list. We're not needing the business. We need the right business. We need people that are going to trust us, going to buy into what we're doing, and going to just roll with us. So at this point, if you're this concerned about stuff, it's just probably not the right fit. But respectfully was going to hear him out. So he goes, well, my first question is I just need to be sure that you are going to be trained with my dog for at least 8 hours every day. And I just laughed and I was like, okay. And then it was that awkward, silence, so I said, I'm not going to use a name, but I said, are you serious? And he's like, yeah, I am. And I'm like, you really believe that I would train with your dog for 8 hours every day? And his comment was, why else would I be sending this dog in? And I said, look, this goes back to the question. One, your dog couldn't handle 8 hours of training a day, let alone me. But your dog couldn't handle it. Your dog is likely going to get anywhere from 15 to 25 minutes a day. And he thought that was just absurd. The reality is, it is not about the length of training. It is not the quantity when it relates here into duration, length. It's the quality. We've talked about before on this podcast, going out with a game plan. Don't go train and do the same hand-thrown mark in the same spot, in the same manner, in the same routine all the time. Go with a purpose. Reading the dog the whole time, because you could go out with a goal, a purpose. Your dog is not feeling it, not into it, and it immediately redirects your focus into, okay, we're not going to accomplish A, B, C. Let's go accomplish A and B done because he's just not feeling it today. And then we'll go do it tomorrow. It's all about the quality. And so when you go into how do you know when enough is enough, I'm always reading the dogs and I'm trying to stop one drill, one retrieve, one send, one cast, whatever it is, short of when I think they're going to be done. You've seen it. I mean, if you've worked with your dog enough, you've seen when you do, the first double, the first mark, whatever it is, that pop, that energy, that focus, that everything that they have, and you know what I'm talking about. There's that time that they come back, it's a little different gait, it's a little different body language. You can just tell they're starting to get tired. Just stop. especially for a young dog. An older dog that you're like, hey, we need to go pick this last one up. I know you're capable. I know you can do it. I know I'm not putting you in a dangerous situation here, right? But we would, for us, we would always rather stop one short than do one too many and go, shoot, I wish I would have stopped one more. Think about yourself in again, I go back to athletics a lot, but from a mental soundness and energy standpoint, if you are continually getting pushed one too many times, at some point it plays a role into your mental game to where you're just not as enthusiastic to go punch out that next time. Now, if you stop that one short, there's stress is a great thing in the right manner, in the right approach. Stress, I just don't believe anything in life is worth, name something in life that's worth achieving or going after that doesn't involve some level of stress. Stress is a good thing. As long as it's in the right dose, you can manage it. I'm not saying throw 2 marks because you think at 10 he's going to be smoked. I'm saying do 7, 8. Just don't do 14, right? I mean, there's a line there that you just don't want to cross. 1, for health, but 2, just for, I go back to, I had a basketball coach that said, I would rather you go shoot 10 free throws after practice with the right form, focusing on each one, rather than go shoot 100 that's it's lazy, it's not in the right form, it's just not, you're not being productive, you're actually moving backwards. Go shoot 10 and focus on it. That's exactly how I look at this dog training. Be purposeful. Go do something with the intent, do it really well, and then be done. You'll see progression and enthusiastic progression that much faster. So I want to thank Lucky Duck. If you guys have not checked out the new 5-star crash test large kennel, go do that. They now have intermediate and large. Great product. We love that kennel. So go find them at www.luckyduck.com. And then Sitka. Sitka has literally changed the way that I hunt and the way that I train, just simply by having the correct apparel on. And it's just amazing how having the right clothes it makes you that much more comfortable, makes you that much more confident, just mentally. And I get to apply it every day. And so it's really a neat thing. So www.sitkagear.com. Hope you guys have a great week. And I will talk with you next week.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Leave us a review on iTunes. And a special thank you to Eukanuba, because without them, we couldn't do what we do here, bringing this information to you.